In today's episode of Today in World War II, January 17th, Polish cryptographers in Paris break the Luftwaffe's Enigma code. The Soviets warn the Germans, stay away from Bulgaria. The Brits capture about 5,500 Axis prisoners in Egypt. The U-boats continue to enjoy the second happy time off the East Coast because of American stupidity. Uh, Germans decide that you can go back home again, and they start bombing London at night for the first time since 41. Oh, the butcher's bill is going to run very high in Italy because the Battle of Monte Cassino started on this date. And finally, in the Soviet final offensive in Eastern Europe and Poland, they caused the Germans to finally evacuate Warsaw for the first time since 1939. Let's get going here. Okay, so on January 17, 1940, Polish cryptographers in Paris were able to crack the Enigma code for the German Luftwaffe. That meant they could read all of Luftwaffe's secret transmissions. Keep in mind, this was still the phony war. But I just want to point out, and I talked about this, I believe, in yesterday or the day before's video, about just how underestimated, undervalued, underappreciated the Poles were and are to this day about their contribution to the Allied victory over Nazi Germany. And this was one of them. The unsung story is the fact that I don't know if the Brits could have gotten as far as they got as quickly as they got if with breaking the German Enigma code if they hadn't had the Poles. Basically, the Poles laid the foundation for the Brits to be able to move to the next step. And as we know, by 1943, they were pretty much reading almost everything that the Germans were transmitting, which is pretty amazing if you think about it. Um, and for these poor Poles, I mean, think about this. They barely got out of Poland alive. The British Secret Service helped them get out, got them to France. They started working there. And then here we have a report on January 17th, 1940. And in just a few months, they're going to have to flee again, this time to London. So just good for them. They did an amazing job. Uh, you can do an amazing job for me if you subscribe to my channel and click the little bell that will get you notified whenever there is a new video that I drop. It's not rocket science. I drop these things every day, but you know what I'm saying. Just do me a solid, and that would really help me, okay? On January 17th, 1941, Soviet Foreign Minister Vyacheslav Molotov warned Germany, don't you be deploying no troops in Bulgaria. Actually, that's not a Russian accent. I speak Russian. I should do a better job than that. We tell you not to put German troops into Bulgaria. That'd be a big problem for you. You know what I'm saying? That's a little bit better. Anyway, if you remember, I talked about this in a previous video. Hitler was trying very diligently to get the Yugoslavs, the Romanians, and the Bulgarians to come in a tripartite alliance with him, anti-Soviet alliance, and because he was intending to invade the Soviet Union in June of this year, and the Soviets, while they didn't believe that they were, Stalin didn't believe that they were going to invade. They certainly had enough intelligence showing that it was going to happen. The Soviet Union was trying to warn them off by saying, "Hey, we consider Bulgaria a security zone," which may be why the Bulgarians were tempted to go with the Germans. I don't think anybody wants to be part of a Soviet or a Russian security zone, if you know what I'm saying. But anyway, that was the Soviet Foreign Ministry trying to shoot a shot across the German bow to warn them off. Didn't work. What will work is if you like this video and leave a comment. I mean, will it work for you? Not really. Does it work for me? Indirectly. What it does work for is the YouTube algorithm, which will show more engagement. The more engagement I have, the more people's feeds my content will show up on. And that's where really what I want to help grow my channel. So I really appreciate this and I thank you in advance. On January 17th, 1942, British and South African troops caught a really big score of Axis prisoners in Pass, excuse me, just over the Egyptian border. They took about 5,500 Axis prisoners of war. That's a great haul. Even if they were Italians, it's still a good haul because remember, this was the key part of the Battle of El Alamein. There were two battles, right? First battle was when Rommel was desperately trying to break through Montgomery's defense line, wasn't able to do so. And the second Battle of El Alamein was when Montgomery, after ponderous preparation and reinforcements out the yin yang, before he finally made his move and was able to push them all the way back to Tunisia. So I guess I should probably get off of Montgomery a little bit. It's just as a general, I don't think he was. I'll put him in the class of Patton. Let's put it that way. But anyway, neither here nor there. He's a British general, not my general. So, God bless. Anyway, so this was very important. Stopping the Germans, keeping the Suez Canal free, and keeping Egypt free. Alexandria was a major naval port for the Royal Navy in the Eastern Mediterranean. So, by all means, that was a great development. Helped stop the Germans in their tracks. So, good for the Brits. Uh, Let me sigh. January 17, 1942, the second happy time for the German U-boats. I talked about this yesterday. The reason why I'm repeating myself is that this stuff repeated itself for like 3 months or more with brightly lit U.S. cities as a background, no blackout, with unescorted, non-convoyed merchant ships traveling along the East Coast on their way to Canada and then on over to the UK. The Germans had a field day. On this day, they sank three more merchant vessels off of North Carolina, off of uh, Cape Hatteras, that's which is North Carolina, and on closer to New Jersey and New York. So again, one man's stupidity and arrogance. How many people died? A lot of people died. A lot of cargo lost because of that. I'm going to move on, okay, before I start tearing what little hair I have left off my head. On January 17, 1943, the Luftwaffe conducted its first night bombing raid over London since May of 1941. This was part of Hitler's obsession for attack, 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 revenge, revenge, revenge. And he did not believe in defense, which is okay, I suppose. But every now and then you have to play defense, no matter whether it's a war or if it's a sporting event. Defense wins games, can win wars. Look what happened with the Americans in the first, 6, 7, 8 months of the war when the Japanese attacked and they were on the offense all the time. The Americans had to play defense. They played defense in the Coral Sea. They played defense in Midway, and to some extent, they played defense in Guadalcanal. Sometimes you have to do that, and your leaders have to understand the value of playing defense. Hitler woefully undersupplied and undersupported the Luftwaffe's fighter command, which was trying desperately to keep the German cities from being bombed into the Stone Age by the RAF and by the 8th Air Force and later the 15th Air Force out of Italy. And all he cared about was offense, offense, offense. So killed a lot of civilians, didn't do anything to help German security. What can I say? He was a corporal in World War One. On January 17th, 1944, excuse me, 44, the Battle of Monte Cassino began in Italy. This is going to go on for 4 bloody months. It was not just an American operation. Most of the troops in the Commonwealth fought, including the Free French, including French colonial troops, South Africa, Greek, even some Brazilians fought. I mean, it was a veritable UN fighting on that front. The Germans had dug in. Monte Cassino was the centerpiece of their line, their defense line, and it was just bad. We'll be talking about this as the months go on in our videos, but the final butcher's bill was approximately 75,000 casualties just on the Allied side, not to mention, the Italian civilians and one, priceless monastery that got bombed into the Stone Age by the Americans, which was controversial. Don't know if that even actually helped at all. But anyway, moving on, right? Finally, on January 17, 1945, the Soviet Union was able to expand their bridgehead over the Varta River, about 160 miles wide and 100 miles deep. And that forced the Germans to finally evacuate Warsaw because they would have been encircled. And for some reason, Hitler did not give the fight to the last Nazi command on this one. He allowed them to redeploy. And those poor Poles, they suffered for such a long time, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 6.5 years of under German occupation. The Warsaw was razed almost to the ground. And what did they get? What reward did they get for that? All the Jews were exterminated. The home army was almost wiped out. What did they get for that? What was their prize? They got the Soviet Union. They got the NKVD or the KGB, and they got repression for how many other years till the early 1990s. So, oh my gosh, the Poles they had it worse than almost anybody as far as the Allied countries that were there at the beginning of the war. So. I feel for him. I feel for you, Poland. I really do. I feel for you, but in a good way. Thank you for watching my video. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.